Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, ready for this. Oh yeah. Pump up the jam. Pump it up the jam. Yeah.
Can't stop.
Yeah, no. Look, you got to understand something. Jock
I
Jams is a
can't
huge part of my
stop.
1996. And yeah.
Of course it is.
Look, we had Pieces of You the last time we talked, and now I'm talking about Jock Jams. I'm just doing like a whole soundtrack of an entire decade of my life.
Oh my gosh, that was
very
so
important.
funny. That's got to be the best intro so far.
Anyway, let me come back to this story that I was trying to tell you.
Yeah,
before.
tell the story.
I want you to try to react to it the same way you just did before our recording got cut off accidentally.
It's a good thing I have short-term memory.
It's so
I'm
good.
kidding.
Thank God. All right. So I get a text from Monica and Renzo over at To Become Family. So I like to shout out the other podcasts that every once in a while talk to us.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun, right?
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think they've got a great podcast going too. They're really good.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent me a text, and it's a picture of me from Veritas Catholic Network's spring or fall fundraising drive that they have on their social media. And it's a picture of me, and it says, Father Same Kachuba. SAME. And they said, not the same old Kachuba, but a new one.
A better version.
This is great. Okay. So then I had to respond. It's pronounced Same. It's pronounced Same.
With an accent?
With an accent mark. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
as
It should be written this way. But typical Americans, they're afraid of accent marks. It's not the first time my last name has been called too ethnic.
Sorry, I totally screamed in the microphone.
So
you're the most ethnic priest out there.
Exactly. And then I just wrote, I am a victim.
Gosh. This is too funny.
Well, it was like, this is the most insane thing. It's ridiculous. Obviously it's just autocorrect. There's nothing more than that. And I'm like, autocorrect, I'm sorry. Do you not recognize names?
No.
That like Sam is a name and a very common one. We call Uncle Sam. Like why is Father Sam so difficult that you had to add an E?
Are you still up there on the social media as Same?
I'm not on social media, so I don't actually know. I just know
check it out after
this was done. It made me laugh, and it was a great start to my morning. So I'm doing.
You
great.
had a great start to your morning. That's great.
What you mean that? Oh, just that story by itself is great.
Well, no, it just sounds like you had a great morning compared to mine.
Well, would you like to tell the people?
Yes. Well, to the people out there, my
So
ADD,
amazing.
my ADD gets
so
me.
amazing. I can't believe you did this.
I can't believe I did it again.
So
It's only 1 week away and 1 week apart. So last week I had an incident. Now, prior to this, there were four.
Did we talk about this last week on the
we
podcast?
didn't. We didn't.
Oh,
we
okay.
left my shame at the door. And
No, today we're going
to talk about my
we're
shame.
going to bring that out into the light.
All right. So last week I got locked out of my apartment. For context, you have to use a fob to get into my apartment door. And when it closes automatically, that's what happens. It closes automatically.
We're going to give away all the security secrets to her building.
So
She lives at.
she lives at ... So anyways,
The Wi-Fi password is.
I was leaving my apartment last Tuesday. I had my breakfast in my hand. I had my purse, getting ready to go to work. And then I realized as soon as I get to the stairs, I don't have my keys. I was like, not again. Mind you, I've already locked myself out 6 times.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
You didn't tell me that it's been 6 times already.
I'm a repeat offender. This is actually really, really bad. So,
Oh, man.
So prior to this, I would call the maintenance line and be like, hi, it's me again. I locked myself out of my apartment. You're wondering, how does she do this?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, listen, the ADD. That's the preface I need to give. So now, last Tuesday was a whole other situation, because normally the maintenance line that they had for us to call no longer works. Our apartment complex went a little bit more digital, so now you had to send a help desk ticket to get somebody to get in touch with somebody to notify the maintenance guy who wasn't on the property, hey, this person at this apartment needs to get in, but she can't go anywhere. So now I'm like walking around my apartment hoping that I'm going to see him.
Walking through the halls.
I really was. I was like, maybe I'll run into him. I couldn't find him. His truck wasn't there. And I was like, what am I going to do? I can't go anywhere. So I'm just like stuck in downtown Bridgeport. And I'm like, well, so I wait for an hour. they finally get back to me and they said, actually, we're so sorry. You're going to have to wait till the afternoon because the maintenance guy is at a different campus a couple towns over and he has to finish his first job. So he won't get back to you until later this afternoon. And I was like, well, what am I going to do?
What you do when you're stuck in downtown Bridgeport and you've got nothing to do and you can't go anywhere, just wander over to the courthouse and find a trial that's going on and sit in the back in the gallery.
Oh my gosh, I should have done that.
Yeah, just go watch.
That's way more entertaining.
Yeah, go watch the legal process unfold.
No,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
It'd be so much fun.
Not to say that I want this to happen again, but...
Well, because it happened again.
It happened today, but...
So
Is
that a total of 7 times now that this has happened?
This is probably like number 8. This is number 8.
Okay.
This is a very significant number.
Paula.
This is like, now this isn't a regular door, right? This is like, you need a fob to open the apartment
Paula,
door. It's not.
How many fobs do they give to
They
each
can only give you
apartment?
one. So because I live by myself, you're only allowed one fob.
I think what they should do, they should give you a second one that you tie to the zipper of your purse.
I think that's a smart idea.
And that way, no matter what happens, whenever you leave, like
Yes.
the fob is attached. Or we need to attach the fob to your phone somehow.
Right.
Of course, then you're going to leave your phone.
Listen, yeah.
Guarantee that day's coming.
Listen, there's a lot. I've tried to create different systems and it's still an issue clearly. So when I walked out this morning, I was like, oh, I've got like my protein shake and like my other snack in hand. And I'm like, oh no, I did it again. I turn around really quickly and just see the door closing and it's heavy. So it's just like going and going. I was like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I didn't make it. And I was like, well, I said a bad word and then I was like, dang it, I did it again.
You said the bad word again, or you locked
No.
yourself out again?
Well, no, both. I was like, oh, I'm so tired of myself. So I text my family and I'm like, well, here I go again. And they're like, how? How do you do this?
The situation seems to have resolved itself rather quickly.
Now, this time, this was so great is like last week. So I hung out at the Bridgeport Library last week, because where else was I supposed to go? Because my phone was also dying.
The courthouse.
I didn't think about that. I needed a charging. They have a charging station at the librri. So I'm sitting at the library.
Just so that we're clear, going to the courthouse to observe a trial is a terrible idea. I'm just joking. I don't mean that. Right?
No, so as I'm sitting at the library, I'm like, then slowly, the people who hang around downtown Bridgeport need something to do. And so you just sit amongst them all. And...
I'm like, who is that guy coming out of our office over there across the parking lot? I can see across the parking lot. It's just one of the maintenance guys. But I didn't recognize him as he came. Like, who's standing in our doorway looking at our mailbox? What the heck? Okay, we're good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it.
My ADD.
You do not have it.
Not like you do.
No, I know. This is really bad. It's so bad. But anyways, yeah. So I hung out at the courthouse, not the courthouse, at the library.
Now I've planted the idea in your head.
Let's just say, as I'm slowly sitting there, the smells start changing in the room.
In the library?
In the library.
I wonder why.
Because you're having your like different people coming and sitting next to you.
Different people.
And you're just like, okay. So I at one point I get bored, so I go pick up a book about Ireland, and I'm just reading through. I was like, oh, I'd like to visit Ireland. This seems pretty great. So my whole day was shot. So anyways,
today it resolved itself pretty quickly.
Today resolved itself because the maintenance guy last week was like, do you have my number? I was like, no, sir. He goes, you need to take down my number because this would be helpful. And
I'm surprised they don't have like a physical code that you can punch in addition to the fob. Like the fob would be the easiest thing.
Mine doesn't have
some kind of a numerical code that could be punched in.
That would be brilliant.
Like, why not?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
That's so smart. Well, because they want to charge you $100 for every lockout.
Yeah, right.
So,
you are wasting your money, child.
I really am.
The other thing we could do is we can get like one of those handprint scanners, so like you feel very futuristic.
That's true. Or just put a chip in me.
Yes.
That's what I need in the future.
We need to
if I walk
a
around
chip
with a chip, no, I'm so for it. Listen, that's fine because that way I never lose my keys.
Yeah, right.
Like I will always have access. No, this is okay. This is what I need in the future.
We are solving problems, Paula.
No, I'm okay with it. I have no problem with it. And then I know myself enough to be like, I need assistance from technology to just try to make it through life. So anyways.
Or alternatively.
Yeah.
We build a good positive habit, a healthy habit of checking to make sure that you have your keys. That's the alternative.
Father Sam.
We can rely on the robots to do it for us.
Listen.
And like, AI will take care of this for me so I don't have to think anymore. Or you can be a person and use the gift of reason that the good Lord gave you.
Listen, the gift of reason is unfortunately a little bit disabled. because of the ADHD, okay? So I need the meds. But here's what's worse. I told my family this morning.
You're saying you self-identify as disabled.
Well, according to the American Psychological Sciences, ADHD is considered a disability. So
is it really?
And it exists on a spectrum, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I learned that through Teresa Violet.
I mean, I knew that it was like it's a real condition.
Yeah, it's considered a developmental disability.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
So when I tell my family, they're like, why don't you take your pills? I was like, so here's the problem. I have to wait till like 10 o'clock to take my pills because I have to take medicine that I can't take it with in the morning. So it just like, it doesn't really set me up for success for the first couple hours of the day.
We're going to work through building good, healthy, positive habits, like checking your pockets for your keys. Like the mental checklist.
What's so great?
I have my keys?
What's so
is the first thing on that mental checklist. Are my keys in my hand? And if my keys are not in my hand, then I don't leave the apartment until my keys are in my hand.
Here's what you think that, and then another thought comes in and it pops on you. Now you're thinking about the next thought. The problem is you can't stay with the thought that you were. It switches so quickly. Switches so quickly.
I'm gonna help. All right, we're gonna figure this out.
So Terry, I told Terry, and Terry's like, girl, you need to come up with a system. Like, just leave it in your bag, leave it in your purse, leave it in this. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to have to change it because clearly what I'm doing is not working.
It's not working. No.
Anyways.
What do you got for us, Paula? Now that you've been set free. You weren't even locked in anywhere, but you've been set free.
So today, I've got an excerpt from In Sinu Jesu.
Jesu.
Yes. Oh, Jesu?
It's a soft J, yeah.
Oh, it's a soft J?
Like yogging.
What the heck?
No, like in Latin, the letter J is pronounced.
It's a soft J.
In Sinu Jesu.
Well, clearly I don't speak Latin.
That's true.
So, anyways, this book...
But you are.
I know. I was waiting
on two different levels.
Like Latina?
Yep.
And Roman.
And you're a Latin Catholic.
Yes, I am.
So you are Latin in more than one way, but you just don't speak it.
I'm Latin squared. Sorry, that was stupid.
That was good. I appreciate that.
So this
You're a victim.
I'm a victim?
Just like me.
Wait, what? What are we talking about?
I'm making fun of the fact that you don't speak Latin.
Gosh.
You're the victim. I'm a victim too because they forgot the accent mark in my name. So...
People always get my name wrong. Father Brennan walked in, I had packages, and he goes, "Here you go, Paola." That's what he said. He goes, "Oh yeah." So, well, he did it on purpose because he knows everybody.
He knows how to say your name.
I know he knows.
Yeah. Paola.
Yeah, that's my name. So.
Pula. Paola.
Puala.
Palala.
So this book, it's called In Sinu Jesu. Right. I got it. High five.
Great pronunciation.
When Heart Speaks to Heart, the Journal of a Priest at Prayer. And so the priest is actually anonymous, but it's a bunch of journal entries this priest wrote not even that long ago. The one that we're going to look at is something actually from 2012. And so he is a monk who just has conversations with Jesus in the silence of adoration. And I want to pick apart one of these entries that I genuinely think we can spend all day with because of how...
We have a heart out at 4.
We have a heart out at 4. So we have 33 minutes left. Okay. Maybe. All right. So I want to pick it apart.
If I stop interrupting. Sorry. That was me. You're a victim.
Oh my gosh. I want to pick it apart because I feel like it can continue with our conversation that we had last time about like, what does it mean to make sacrifices in our life? And so what does that look like even more deeply? So in this here, he's actually writing, Jesus is talking to this priest who wrote this down, speaking about priests, but I think you can even just replace the word priest with just disciple. So really anybody, I mean, we all have, we share in the office of priesthood with Jesus in different ways. Like you're a ministerial priest and lay people are kingdom priests. Is that the right one?
Or what?
I heard this from Father Mike. He uses that word.
Oh, kingdom.
Kingdom. What do you think I said?
I thought you said condemned. I was
like, no. What? What? No. We're not going to get through this. Kingdom priests.
Yes. Well, the distinction that's traditionally made in Vatican II is that there's the ministerial priesthood and the priesthood of all the faithful.
Okay. Yeah. So
the priesthood of the baptized.
Right. So that would be myself and others, and you and your posse over there. Sorry. Okay. So
I'm just so glad I have a posse.
So this thing was like a heart punch. And it reminded me of the book, The Soul of the Apostolate. So have you read through parts of that, right? Or have read?
I've read the whole Soul of the Apostolate.
Right?
I've not read all of In Sinu Jesu.
Right. So we're just going to go right into the depth of this. So this is from the, January 31st, 2012.
Okay.
Eucharistic adoration becomes for my priests the means by which they begin to say sincerely and with an immense joy in their hearts, to be near God is my happiness, and my happiness lies in thee alone. I want my priests to be happy, not with the happiness that the world gives, for it fades quickly, leaving a bitterness on the palate of the soul, but with the happiness that is the fruit of my presence, sought, adored, and glorified in the sacrament of my love. My priests will be happy insofar as they are Eucharistic priests. The happiness of a priest is directly proportionate to his experience of my friendship, my nearness to him in the sacrament of my love, and my readiness to receive him there, to press him against my heart, and to refresh his soul. The priest who allows days and weeks to pass without tarrying before my Eucharistic face will soon find his soul drained of the supernatural happiness that is the fruit of adoration. Far too many priests become melancholy and bitter because they keep me at a distance from their hearts, even when I am sacramentally present and available to them in a tabernacle, which may be no more than a few steps away. Priests think that ministry is the whole of their vocation, forgetting that I call them, first of all, to be with me, to abide in my presence, and to become my intimate friends, the closest friends of my Sacred Heart. For many, the business of religion has driven out the joy that is an infallible sign of my presence in one's life. I myself am no longer central to the priestly ministry of too many of my chosen ones. They exhaust themselves in a constant flow of activities and conversations, never taking the time to be silent in my presence and to listen to what my heart longs to speak to their hearts. This is true not only of diocesan priests, it is, alas, true of far too many of those whom I have called to live for me alone, in the silence of the cloister. Even there, the spirit of activism has penetrated, drawing men from one enterprise to another, causing them to build castles in the sand, playthings that will be swept away again and again by the vehemence of my love, until they learn to find happiness in me alone.
It's pretty solid.
So much here.
There's a lot there, yeah. Well, the first thing, let's start at the end.
Yeah.
Where he says this doesn't just affect diocesan priests, this also affects religious priests, those in the monastery and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a conversation I had with a Benedictine monk who said that one of the things that he has become very convicted of as a Benedictine is that part of his vocation and part of the gift that he needs to bring to his monastery is to fight against the spirit of anti-Benedict.
Oh, what?
So Saint Benedict, who calls his monks to ora et labora, to prayer and to work.
Yeah.
But the silence in the prayer, the grand silence in the evening, is so important to that life of prayer, to that consistency in prayer. And he said, too often in the monastery, we get busy with lots of other stuff. There's lots of activities. Yeah. We're getting pulled in a lot of different directions, and there's good ministry that they can do kind of in and around the monastery,
right,
in the neighborhood of the monastery. But sometimes they're getting caught up too much in that work outside of the monastery. Whereas the work of the monastery in traditional Benedictine monasticism has always been for the support of the monastic community.
Right.
It has not been for the sake of doing all these different ministries in other places. And he said so that's part of the spirit of anti-Benedict. Yeah. The other one is just the spirit of not being silent, like moving away from that quiet. So yeah, that's huge. And then to backtrack a little bit further, he says bitterness and that loss of true joy.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. I have no idea what he's talking about.
We laugh because
it's because it's true.
It's true.
But it's very much something that happens.
Yeah,
and
it's painful.
Like if time before the Blessed Sacrament is lacking, I know for me, I feel it in every conceivable way.
Yeah.
That's why, like, our Adoration Chapel is such a gift.
It really is.
In part because I'm convicted every single time I walk past it, or every single time I bump into somebody on their way in or out. To see the fidelity of so many people coming to adore Jesus in the Eucharist.
Yep.
It moves me so much. I don't have words for it. And like saying so much, just, it's not enough, but there's such a power to what these folks are doing as they're coming into praise. They're spending that time before the Lord.
Right.
So to have that time before the Eucharistic face of Jesus is one of the greatest gifts that a priest will ever have. I remember talking to one of my spiritual directors once upon a time about this. And I was like, yeah, I've kind of been slacking off on some of that time in prayer. And he said, what's your excuse? I said, what do you mean? He said, you have a key to the church, right? I said, yeah. He said, you have a chapel where you live? I said, yeah. And he goes, then you don't have any reason not to, other than you've decided not to walk downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you have decided not to go into that place that is
yeah.
easily accessible. You don't even have to leave the place where you live. You don't have to get in your car and drive somewhere. And
right.
Yep, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. You know what Mother Teresa used to say?
What did she say?
She would say that if you think that you're too busy for prayer, wake up an hour earlier. You don't need that much sleep. And that was her response. You know what's funny? So Tuesdays. Tuesdays are my 3 a.m. hour in the Adoration Chapel. And Tuesdays are often occupied days, kind of busy.
Yeah.
But I find I get up for the 3 a.m. and then after my hour's over, I do a little bit of morning preparation. Like I get my coffee, I take the dog out, and then I go say Mass for the Missionaries of Charity on Tuesday morning. I'm back by the time the 8:30 Mass is getting out, or even sometimes before the 8:30 Mass has even started.
Yeah.
And I get the day going, and it's incredible. The level of productivity
is increased.
Insofar as he's talking about the danger of falling into the like highly active mentality.
Yeah.
So it's not, I don't mean that like in the sense of, oh, I get so much done on these days, but I actually do. I get more productive. But then having been productive, I also find that I'm more relaxed, even though I got less sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're running on Jesus.
Yeah.
Like legit, you're just running on Jesus. I found this extremely interesting for anybody who's just working in ministry as well. Because what really struck me was the line he said about, even when I'm sacramentally present and available to them in a tabernacle, which may be no more than a few steps away. And I mean, you spoke to this in the sense of like, well, I live here, so what an experience it is to live here, work here, and pray here. Like everything happens here. And so the temptation for a lay person working, it's like, okay, I worked, had this phone call, had this email. You can get so caught up in that, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go pray somewhere else, or I'm not gonna pray at home. So when I read this week, I was like, I listen, my heart got slapped, because to your point, there's actually no excuse.
Yeah.
That's
easy though when you're in ministry and in any kind of a ministerial context, it's easy to get performance based.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm doing things the right way, that I've got all this stuff lined up.
Yeah.
And to like, it's easy to kind of forget about the part of that ministry that has to be fueled by prayer.
Right.
I can be organized.
Yeah.
I can be efficient. I can make all the phone calls I need to make. I can send all the emails I need to send. But unlike, you'll hear people talk about, well, I have an email job, where basically their job is communication back and forth. They click a few things on their company's interface or whatever it is, and they've basically done the work that they need to do.
Yeah.
They're approving things, they're selling things, whatever it might be. But we don't have that kind of a job when we're in ministry. But how often we turn it into that.
Right. Hence his language, the business of religion.
Yeah.
Like, you can just sit with that. When the primary call is just to spend time and have intimate friendship with him. So this is just an interesting kind of...
Let me ask you this then. we have these great tools at our disposal.
Yeah.
We're making a podcast. This is a form of social media.
It
right?
is. Yeah.
We've got all this stuff that we can do, and using the internet, using email, and for the sake of communication. And there's a great gift in what we're able to do in terms of communicating a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a diocesan employee yesterday, as you know, and part of our conversation was that like we're doing all of this stuff, but is anybody actually using it? We're doing all this communication.
Right.
Is anybody actually looking at it? And actually, Kathy and I were having this conversation about our own parochial level communication stuff. Not because it's bad. We're doing a great job on communication. Like, kudos to you guys, because you have found ways to communicate stuff. But it's almost like now that people are used to it,
right,
are they paying attention anymore? So we've got to find a new way to communicate it.
You got to zhuzh it up every once in a while.
Yeah,
Update
exactly.
it. Yeah.
But at the same time, nothing, absolutely nothing that we send in an email, that we post on our website, that we say on a podcast has the same kind of an impact as when we get to sit with somebody face to face.
Completely.
And talk to them about their walk with the Lord.
Literally.
Like,
literally.
At the end of the day, all of this stuff is great. It's wonderful that we've got these tools at our disposal, and we should use them.
Right.
So, preface,
there is
these things are good, and there's a need for it.
Right.
But if that becomes the sum total of our ministry, we are missing the most essential aspect.
Which is very similar to the adage, like, it's easy to do things for Jesus and not spend time with Jesus. It's easy to focus on just simply doing emails and phone calls or creating this content and not spend time with people. And so if that in itself kind of creates this like isolating prison for you, where's the joy? Where, like, the joy is what actually sends you out to want to be with people. And you don't do it of your own, like, your own will. It really is a grace that God gives you to go out there. But you can only receive that grace if you make yourself available to receive that grace. Yeah. And otherwise you are, as Paul says, a clanging cymbal. Your words fall flat, your efforts. That was, what was it, yesterday's first reading from Revelations? Oh, man.
We're in that season now as we get to the end of the liturgical year.
The end of days.
Yeah, it's all coming up.
Oh, my gosh. Do you have a Bible here?
Not in this room.
What? Word on Fire Bible.
Oh, yeah.
The gospel. No.
That's just the Gospels.
Dang it.
Sorry.
In this whole room, you don't have a Bible?
Well, this is just a set. This isn't even real.
Oh my God.
This is all fake. This is all.
All right, I'm gonna try.
These are real books.
I'm gonna recall this from memory. I know this was chapter 3 in Revelations.
Everything in here.
I didn't even bring my phone to look this up. But it was the line of just. It was about works, and your works look like they're alive, but actually they're dead.
I don't appreciate the criticism of my set. I worked very hard on this.
Sorry, it really is a beautiful set. It's a beautiful set. Oh my gosh, you made me so apologetic.
I am a victim.
My people pleaser part is coming out. I'm sorry, I was so rude and judgmental. Oh my goodness.
You don't know how to Bible. I'm sitting here to
Are
record.
you Catholic? Yeah, you're Catholic. No Bible
sitting here
in
to
here?
record podcasts. I didn't put my Bible in here. I have my Bible on my desk in my office. Does that make it better? I've got a Bible upstairs. Got a Bible in the chapel over here, the next room over. I just don't have it in the podcast studio because I didn't think. You said you were bringing a book, and you brought a book. Is that it? You didn't tell me to bring a book.
Wait, my side is gonna cramp.
Good.
No,
I have succeeded.
This will have to end.
Nope, I've done my job for the day.
Okay.
I did everything I came here to do.
My
goals.
So
all of my goals.
When I was praying with that first reading yesterday, it was again like, for those who have ears ought to hear what the Spirit is telling the churches. And again, it was just focusing like what your energy is put into these things, but you don't take these things into heaven with you. You don't take these things, like if it ends with that, if it ends with like the works that you're focused on, but not the relationships that Jesus has called you to build, the relationships are what we're bringing into heaven. Our family, our friends, like that being the very thing that actually is what's giving life, because it's a reality. Like if the spiritual life, if there isn't that intimate friendship with Jesus, our works are dead. Yeah. It's just that simple, and it should cause conviction in your heart. It should really make you think about it. if there is no intimate friendship with Jesus, your works are dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
here's the thing, like having been in the priesthood now for 16 years
mm-hmm.
and experienced the ups and downs of the spiritual life as a priest.
Yeah.
You feel it
yeah.
in the ministry that you do. You like, even if it's just a dry spell in prayer.
Yeah.
It's not even that you're not doing it.
Right.
That
It's
you're not
the
being
season
faithful
of
to prayer.
desolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel that.
Yeah.
When add to that, like, I've been inconsistent with prayer,
mm-hmm.
or my prayer has been distracted and I've not been as focused as I need to be.
Right.
Or I've been willing to allow my time to be interrupted in prayer by things that are not actually necessary.
Yeah.
Or by things that are not important.
Right.
You start to feel it in all of the work that you do.
Yeah. Or like how you stopped into my prayer yesterday and you had to interrupt me.
I interrupted you for a very good reason. I love bringing you bad graphic design. And I knew that if I didn't bring it to you, because you know what, that flyer is still sitting on my desk because I wanted to show it to somebody else and I forgot to do it. So I had to do it then. See, you have ADD that gets you like distracted in the moment. I know ahead of time that I'll forget to do something. So I, in advance, say, I will overcome that obstacle now. And I came into the chapel and I said, look.
Jesus, hold on a second. Yeah. I need to show her this flyer.
Yeah. Look, I could tell that you were not in a moment of deep consolation or profound contemplation. I think you had just gotten in there. So I didn't like, the flow wasn't getting interrupted or anything. You weren't crying. So I knew that it was okay. Look,
if she's crying, I can't interrupt. If you were in there crying,
exactly. I wasn't going to interrupt because I know that Jesus is doing something there, right? I knew. I could show you the bad graphic design. And it would bother you just enough that you would laugh.
Yes.
And maybe distract the person who was in there, which I thought would be really funny because as soon as, like, if you laughed out loud and the person turned around to see what was going on, I was going to put on a completely straight face and just look at you like, I can't believe you're so immature. And I was going to do the whole thing where I pretended like I had never done anything wrong in my entire life. I was so ready for that. You have no idea the scheming power that goes on in my brain. I'm not a good person.
So those works are totally alive.
I mean, not to put too fine a point on
Oh
it,
my gosh. That's funny.
Isn't that great?
Yes, but let's try to go back.
Okay.
It's hard to be serious with this one. I don't even know how to bring it back because...
Well, all right. I think it's very obvious how this applies to priests. It's very, very clear.
Yeah.
Though, like, a priest without that time with Jesus in the Eucharist is really going to fall apart. But priests are so tempted to give their time everywhere else.
Yeah.
Or not so much to give their time everywhere else, but to think that they have less time than they really do.
Yeah.
And I think that the temptation to believe that you're busy is not limited to priests.
Agreed. That's where I was going to go with this because this whole thing actually applies to everybody.
Yeah.
This isn't
let's talk about that because I think the thing that a priest would say is, I'm too busy. I've got too many meetings. I've got too many things. I can't stop.
Right.
I can't spend that time in prayer. Or at the end of the day, I'm too tired from having run around all day, so I can't stop and pray.
Right.
Or I got up early as it is to do this other stuff. I can't also make time for Jesus.
Right.
At that time. I'm not awake enough to pray.
Right.
So we'll kind of give ourselves all kinds of excuses. Do you find that that's something that happens in your lay vocation too?
Totally. And it's really, now there are legitimate times when things are really, really busy, but the more that I'm sitting with it, it's what's actually busy is our mind.
Yeah.
Our thoughts are what keep, and I know I have ADHD, right?
Do you?
Yeah.
Have we talked about that at all today?
Okay.
Repeatedly?
Quick tangent, but I mean, to go back to it, but it that's what I hear from people. It's really not like they're not consumed with busyness, but they're consumed with so much noise and so much, like, the thoughts just keep coming. And if you do not interrupt it and make the time for silence, like, you're constantly overwhelmed. That's why there's so much anxiety, why there's so much depression. I feel like I'm living a purposeless life. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm too afraid to take the time to sit there because I don't know what emotions are going to come out. I don't want to emotionally unravel because now it's not the time. So now I have to manage, like, seriously.
Sorry, this is not a good time for an emotional unraveling.
Yes.
I'm going to have to postpone this 15 minutes until things have calmed down a little bit.
And everybody does it. Yeah. And everybody does it. Yeah. I'm going to repress whatever it is I'm feeling in this moment because I don't know what's going to come up, or I got to deal with these things. So there's just no time for myself right now. And it's like this constant noise, constant spirit of activism. Mm-hmm. And how much of it is that this mental weight, this mental pressure, and like, come to me, all you who labor and are burdened. But are we willing to actually leave this at the altar with Jesus? Are we willing to actually leave it at the foot of the cross and actually allow him to unburden us? We're also holding on to way more consciously than I would say in any other generation prior to this because of how much information is out there. So like our own conscious mind is just like, I got to take information from here. And we're not even like sitting with our very selves. Don't know how to be bored, so we don't activate the imagination. We can't dream and wonder and just, be able just to walk outside and look.
Yeah.
So
Do Not Disturb on my phone has been such a gift.
That's awesome.
Like learning to just put that on more often.
Mm-hmm.
And what'll happen is I'll hit Do Not Disturb and then forget that I did it.
Even better.
And so I'm not really paying attention to the phone.
Yeah.
And then there's just wonderful gift of not noticing any of that stuff that's not important, not being sucked into it or anything. It's such a gift.
Well, even just like email, for example, and just like no notifications, or I'm not going to like have it open during or I'm going to set it only through Monday through Friday, because now we're using email like text.
Mm-hmm. I've also, I don't know if you've noticed this in the office.
What?
I've started closing my door more often.
That's great.
And it's just so that I can focus a little bit better because there's constant knocks on the door and coming in. I'm like, this is going to sound really weird. There have been some times where I'm like, just pick up the phone and call my extension from your office instead of walking all the way down here because I can hear the footsteps coming. And then I hear you knocking on the door and it's nothing. It's not like a form that I have to sign. Like, you don't need my signature on something. Just pick up the phone and ring and ask me.
Your presence is wanted.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I love that. No, it's very nice. Like, and I know there's the importance of availability. I don't want to shut myself out.
Yeah, no, you're really good at that.
But at the same time, like, I'm learning.
It makes sense.
Sometimes I just need to close the door.
Yeah, because you want to be able to get things done. Otherwise,
well, especially when you are screaming down the hall and laughing.
I've gotten better. Notice how much quieter I am?
In the office.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's good.
You.
It's a good thing. I've gotten better.
But no, it's like it's important to. I've got this task that I need to take care of, so I'm going to sit down and really try to focus on it, be present to it, and give myself the time that I need, and therefore the space too. By closing the door, that means I'm not available right now to be interrupted with this because I have a task in front of me.
Right.
And that might be one of the challenges too. Like, all right, in terms of the work that needs to be done, every priest has a task. And so does every layperson who has a job, right? You have a task. This is the thing that needs to be taken care of. And we need to give ourselves space to do that well.
Yeah.
But we need to think the same way about our prayer and about our time with Jesus.
Yes.
That this is time that is blocked out, that can't be interrupted, even by somebody who's coming in to show you terrible graphic design. Right? This is time that
even if it's the priest that's distracting you.
Exactly.
Wow.
But this is the kind of stuff that, like, we need to set that aside. And I can't interrupt it because I want to go do something else or because I want to check this other thing. I need to just stay focused on it. And so that means I've got to close the door.
Yeah. I want to read this part.
Okay.
So
real quick.
This is about the importance of adoration. When my priests return to my tabernacles, seeking my face and yearning to rest upon my heart, you will begin to see wondrous things in my church. In my church that has grown accustomed to living in mediocrity and lukewarmness. This is not of my doing, for I am, in truth, a consuming fire. It is rather the slow but relentless work of the evil one, who would see all that I created plunged into darkness and frozen in evil.
Sounds pretty accurate to me.
And no, it really is, because then it even here, like, it's beautiful that the practice of Eucharistic adoration is like, it is the means by which we become, like, one of the means by which we become like Jesus. I mean, why are some of the sisters glowing when you see them? So many hours spent before Jesus in the Eucharist.
It's not the makeup.
They don't wear makeup. We know that. They're just
we started this talking about makeup.
We
might
did.
as well end on makeup.
Might as well end on makeup.
And we've come full circle.
Way to go, Father Sam. But
See how I did that?
Yeah, you're pretty good, I guess.
Yeah. I cut through the ADHD to get right back to the point. The point of the show today was makeup, ladies and gentlemen. No, wait, that's not right.
So I mean, these words are from Jesus to this priest.
Yeah.
So like what I was reading was from Jesus to this priest, but it's really like from this priest, it's actually, these are words for each of us as a disciple.
Amen.
Like, this should really be through, like, I mean, again, he said it yesterday, if you were hot or cold, I'd rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm, or else I'm going to spit you out. And so hopefully this has led to some kind of conviction to really be intentional about that time, because otherwise God wants to give us life, but also lead us into eternal life, and not to become enslaved by the plans of the evil one, which he's constantly thwarting. But at the end, Jesus has the victory, but we really have to recognize that we have to play our role in our own salvation as well. So those are my final words.
Good final words. Appreciate it. Thanks, Paula.
Thanks, Father Sam.
Roar like the lamb.
And we are out.